Hi, this is Robin Steinberg and Kaylie Dugan, and we're just going to have a conversation and would like to invite you to come on in and join us. Kaylie has begun a project called Life Clicking, and I know that Kaylie is somebody who I've seen grow, operate, and has been one of my mentors for a lot of years now. And yet I feel like I've just touched the iceberg tip to have a sense of who she is and what she does. So welcome to this time together, and we'll have a little chat in Kaylie's garden. Hi, Kaylie.
Hi, Robin.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you very much for joining me and for allowing this opportunity.
Well, there's nothing I'd rather talk about than this.
That's one of the things I love about you, Kaylie, is that there's almost nothing you'd rather talk about than creative stuff that's real and practical, and
Absolutely.
your excitement and juiciness comes through.
Thank you.
That's the absolute clearest way to put it, Sid.
Thank you.
You know, you've actually stood for the practical applications as long as I've known you.
Yes.
And your creativity comes through in absolutely everything.
Thank you.
I love the name of the business you're actually transitioning out of, which is Imaginology.
Imaginology. It's a market research business that I've been in several iterations for my whole career. And now it's just time to,
Iterate away.
Yes, iterate away, because I work with corporate clients, which I just love. I really love it. And it involves a lot of travel, and it's just time to put that aside and start working with individuals rather than corporations.
So you bring a wealth of knowledge to what you've been putting together. We were talking just a little earlier, and you said that what's going on with this product that you're talking about, this experience really, has been being developed over the last 20 years.
Yes, it has. So about 22, 23 years ago, it might even be more than that, I got involved in this, it was a teaching of this guy named Robert Fritz. And it was called, his book was called Path of Least Resistance, and I learned a lot. However, the Path of Least Resistance is practical as it was. It wasn't the world's easiest book to read, so I liked the process, but the book kind of, and then I started adding a new piece, and then a new piece, and then a new piece, and then a new piece, till it's all synthesized by, oh God, probably 15 or 20 different people who've really influenced me on how to do things. And so it is a lot of people's thinking rolled into this new thing called life clicking. So
You're
it's really
a synthesizer.
That's exactly what I am. I'm a synthesizer. It's exactly what I am.
I completely understand that. I've learned to identify myself as a synthesizer. I didn't know what that was for the longest time, and
It's amazing if you're open to changing something, if you're opening to keep it fluid, how a new piece will just pop and you think, well, I could use that here. I could use that here. So because my market research business was actually a creativity business, that's how creativity works. Very little is new for the first time. It's just something is borrowed from here and brought here. Something is borrowed from here and brought here, until you have a new combination of what's existed in other places. And that's what life clicking is.
so life clicking is related to Imaginology in your business.
Correct.
With the synthesizing.
Correct.
In terms, the difference is how who's applying it more than how it's being applied.
Correct. Yeah, so this is really for individuals.
So it may seem like it's a brand new business, but it's really an integration of ancient technology, just like New Thought.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So when I first started teaching this, it was for 12-step people who had a certain background that they all pretty much agreed on. And then it moved into New Thought people, because the people I knew in 12-step tended to be the New Thought people. And it went into New Thought, and then it got very influenced by what was going on at Interlight Ministries, which is a special form of New Thought. It stayed there for a while, and then what I was going to do, Robin, is I knew that this was a valuable thing. And a woman who, some of you guys may know, her name is Kwame Evans. Kwame Evans she took my class and she said, oh my God, this is just fabulous. Kwame is a very dynamic, much younger person than me, and I thought, Kwame, you're going to be the person to bring this into the world. It's going to be you, because you're so cool and you're so wonderful. And then she decided to go for her PhD, and she moved away. So I just sat it down on my hard drive for years. But she's been gone, what, 3 years?
It's been about 3 years because of Miara's size in the world.
Yes, so it
right.
just sat there for 3 years, and it didn't go anywhere. And then I taught it again at Interlight, and, well, let me back up. When I was going to teach this with Kwame, we realized that this was going to take off. It had to get to a broader audience, beyond a New Thought audience. So she and I talked a little bit about it, and it seemed like a big task to make it a more secular content, because it has a workbook with it. It has like a 50-page workbook with it.
And the workbook's grown, because I took
Yes.
this class years ago.
Oh, yeah, it's
when it
completely
was
different.
a very different name even.
Completely different. It used to be called the Fully Resourced Life, but it was called, when you took it, it was called something even different than that.
Yeah.
I forget even what it
I
was
don't
called.
completely remember,
So it's
but I
had several
remember
names.
making living affirmations basically, and really having something very creative in
You're
form.
not going to even recognize the class. It's very
Wow.
cool.
So this has been not only an incubation period, but it's really a real bloom.
It has been. So what happened is I taught it again at Interlight maybe 4 or 5 months ago through a friend of mine who had taken it before, and she was really encouraging me to teach it. And I thought, I'll teach it one more time, but then if I wanted to go ahead with it, I'd have to secularize it, which seemed like such a big task.
And that was under the name of Your Dreams Are Waiting for You to Come True?
Correct. That was Sarah's name. Yeah, that was Sarah's name.
Okay.
So I thought, well, I can do this. I have a little bit of gap in my work schedule. I will recreate the workbook. And the workbook kind of recreated itself, Robin. It was very cool. Dick and I were going up to from Santa Cruz to Oakland to go to a Warriors game, and we just started. He didn't say much. I just started bouncing all these ideas off of him. And one of the things Kwame and I came up with to make it more secular was it couldn't use such spiritual language. And I thought about it and thought about it and thought about it. And most of the innovative things that are being, or many of the innovative things that are being done in corporate America today are spiritual. And I thought, you know, Oprah's spiritual. She's nearly the most popular person on the planet as far as speaking, I want to call more philosophy really than religion. It's more, it's
what I think you stand for, as far as I see it, and that's the applied world of spirit as a way to live in the world.
Exactly, exactly. So I thought, you know, I don't really have to take the spirituality out of it. But life clicking has always been, by any of its names, it was combining the spiritual with the human. It's always been that. And I reworded it in a very cool way. And when you put the human and the spiritual together and you give equal weight to both, that's when this click happens.
Well, I'm seeing a Rubik's Cube here
it's
in
a
your
Rubik's
hand.
It's a Rubik's Cube.
It's a Rubik's Cube.
And something clicks, and we all know what happens. We all have those aha moments, and it's like literally something in your brain, two pieces that didn't fit together, all of a sudden click, and you have a whole instead of pieces.
I mean, I know the women's movement in particular, years and years ago, were talking about clicking and aha moments and things like that. But this is the real practical application of that on purpose.
On purpose. So my take on New Thought, and it's just my take, is that it so stresses the spiritual, which I can understand because most of us have been caught in the human. And it's been out of balance, too human, too much doing. So the counterweight to that is spiritual and more being.
Yay.
However, I think you can also pull the pendulum too far the other way. We're spiritual beings, and we're spiritual, and it's all about being, forgetting that as spiritual beings, we have been granted this incredible gift called being a human. And if being spiritual becomes very positive and being human somehow gets relegated to less or almost a burden. Yes, it gets, one's in the attic and one's in the basement. It's easy to get that way.
And we don't live in either one of those places.
We do not.
We?
So if you say, oh, it's what a gift to be able to be a spiritual being. What a gift from whatever spiritual tradition you come from. That is to be an eternal spiritual being. You go, oh my God, wow. To be a human being in this time, in this place, in this body, I go equally wow. I go equally wow to both. And if you hold both of them as these tremendous gifts, then you're in balance. And when you're in balance and it clicks, that's when all things are possible.
That's great. And that makes a whole different creation.
Correct. Correct. To not say, oh, this is a wonderful jewel, and by the way, I also have this. it's not valuing this human experience. If you also say, I'm a human being above all things, and I do, and I don't pay any attention to spirit, or I make that in the basement, that doesn't work either.
Mm-hmm.
But elevating both of them and putting the two pieces together. Click.
I really like the click word in it too. I've done a lot of work with dog training, and clicker training specifically, dog training with heart. And the click is really a marker of, you got it right.
Exactly.
You got it.
And you kind of go like that. That's it. And you kind of go like that with your
Click.
Yes, it
Click.
clicks. Well, when you
Because it makes a marker in your synapses, really.
Exactly.
And that's what we're trying to get for.
Exactly. And once you come from that basis, then everything is possible.
Yeah.
It's cool, Robin. It's cool stuff.
It's like intentionally creating the yes for yourself.
Correct. And you know how at Interlight we talk about this vortex?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if it's just a spiritual vortex, I don't want to say just, if it's a spiritual vortex, that's a wonderful thing. But if it's a vortex of the spiritual and the human together, I don't want to say glued together, it's clicked together. That's when you take off.
The beauty, as I understand it, of a vortex is the energy in and out. So it's the connection of above and below.
Correct.
So it's a perfect connection, and there's vitality and movement
Absolutely.
in that.
So I'm going to give you a little clue on the first thing we're going to talk about in the class on Saturday.
Oh, yay, a preview.
But just that, it was the very first thing we're going to talk about. So it's so easy for us to start thinking of ourselves in parts or in pieces.
Mm-hmm.
We're not in
There's
parts.
part work that
We're
people
not.
do.
We're not in parts and not pieces. We might have facets of ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
or two sides to the coin, or four sides to the pyramid, but they're sides. That we're still one. We're one integrated whole. So the two pieces are mind and heart. So when we start the class, we're going to ask people, when you think of your mind, what you think of, and what you think of is your heart. Some people are very heart-driven, and heart normally means emotion and feeling, which is a very important part of who we are. See, it's not a facet of who we are. Some people are more mind-oriented, and they're thinkers, and everything's about logic, or logic predominates.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a very valuable facet of who we are. It's when you can click the two together, the mind and the heart together, that all of a sudden all things are possible. So these are the words that I think best personify this heart-mind click. And that is that the heart is the leader and the mind is the guide.
Oh.
So a leader without a guide isn't all that hot. A guide without a leader ain't all that hot. So if you're in a wagon train coming over the Rockies,
Mm-hmm.
150 years ago, don't you want a leader and a guide?
Yeah,
Don't you
want to know
both?
where you're going and that you can get there?
And that you can get there. So that's the idea behind life clicking, is you lead with your heart, meaning lead with what you feel, and particularly joy. Particularly you're looking for joy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the what. But guiding you towards finding the joy, or towards making the joy even larger, that's really your mind's business. Because it's easy to discount our mind and call it monkey mind, and call it getting us in trouble, and calling it, you want to so still your mind so that it's not doing anything. Your mind is very valuable, and I don't want to only still my mind. I want thinking. So there's times for the heart, and there's times for the mind. But if you can click the two of them together, and then say, here's where I am leading from my heart, here's where I am guiding from my mind, and pick the appropriate time to use both, you got another click.
Having access to both of those.
Having access to
You
both.
know, I spent a lot of years actually, I would describe it as being top-heavy.
Mm-hmm.
The tradition I was studying in was that I was intellectually centered. I met the world in and out, the vortex, through my intellect,
Mm-hmm.
through my brain.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started basically doing this.
Cut yourself off.
Like
exactly.
a frontal lobotomy,
Yes.
cutting myself off at the head in order to have access and open up my heart. Now that I'm a little older in life, I've had to readapt things. And it's a good thing I've had some practice, I have to
right.
say that.
Because you don't want to remove your mind, you don't want to remove your heart.
Mm-hmm.
You want them working in some kind of a synergy. And when they're working in a synergy, because I know some people who are so led by their emotions that they're kind of a big old basket case.
Can't
That's not,
function
you
in
can't function.
the world of form.
Correct.
Right.
So the mind-heart click is just one small example of the human and the spiritual click.
It's like the right brain, left brain ideas where things like making money are seen as not being spiritual, where the spiritual is the heart, and the money being practical, hands-on, logical.
Correct. And it's so easy to turn your to make a face at one or the other,
Yeah.
as if it's
one.
less than.
Yeah.
No, they're both enormously valuable treasures,
Yeah.
and you can have two treasures at the same time, without saying one good, one bad.
It doesn't dim the light of the other.
It does not. I have two treasures.
That's awesome.
I have a mind and a heart, both of which are valuable. I have a spiritual self and a human self, both of which are of enormous value.
It's all here in form. It's in your body.
It is. It is.
Isn't that exciting?
Uh-huh.
We
And
get-
once you
we
can
get to
see
work
it this
through that.
way, then really the potential, your own individual potential just skyrockets.
And I know that that's what I think of in terms of your corporate clients and how they apply things is bringing you in. The reason they're willing to pay you those big bucks is because you get results
I do.
in creative ways.
I do. And you know, all I do basically, I can tell you this secret now, Robin, because I'm going to not do this so much anymore. All I do is bring a little creativity and a little joy into the corporate world. That's all I do.
It's
and
not
they
the
go,
place
"Oh
you
my
think of
God!
joy."
Oh my God! It's here. The missing piece is here."
Yeah. So that's like the lubricant.
Correct. And so I just give them permission to be second graders again. I give them permission to think in a different way.
That reminds me of the affirmation cards that I've been gifted with and treasure so much. This one is, here's a big juicy hug for you.
Don't you want to know that that's every day? And wait till you see the affirmations that are made specially for live clicking.
Oh, I believe
You'll
it.
be the first people ever to see them. They've
Oh,
just
they're
been
brand new.
They're brand
so
new.
you've been in creativity mode yourself.
I have.
What a
I
gift.
have. They're really good.
So the better than ever life clicking 2.0 is what we're really getting
It's
here.
really complete. It's pretty different. It's pretty different.
And you've made a huge shift in the way you're seeing the world, and that's also integrated here.
Absolutely. And it's, again, it's this, it's not elevating of necessarily of the human. It's the tradition I come from. The spiritual has been so valued. So for other people, it'll be the other way around. But for me, to elevate the human. Actually, I was taking a study class from, this is from Valerie Joy, who's a teacher, a really good Bible study person. She looks at it with a new thought.
That's Valerie Joy
Vidmont. She comes at it a traditional Bible study, but with a new thought edge, and she's just wonderful. And we were in this class. I think you were probably there, Robin. And she said something about. I asked her a question about putting the human down as. I don't want to say sinful, because Valerie isn't into sinful at all. But the Bible can kind of be sinful. That the human being needs to be pushed down and squashed. And she said she thought about it in a minute. She said, you know, the Bible does tend to do that, where I don't think Jesus did that at all. I think Jesus elevated the human. He said, more wonderful things than I've done you can do. But that's not how it comes off in Christianity normally. It's normally Jesus is way up here, and then human beings are way down here. I don't
That's
think
the
that,
tradition of things like asceticism and
correct.
and all that.
Correct.
Where we're cutting off our human nature and denying our senses.
Correct. No, I don't think
Whereas
that's.
there are other traditions that talk about that as seen through the veil of illusion, and that's still separate, but it's a little bit more connected.
But I think we have senses, we have desires, we have wants, we have pleasures. We have them. They weren't given to us as a mistake. They weren't. I mean, we're sitting out on this beautiful day in this garden. Is this wonderful or what?
This is amazing. What
It's
a treasure.
wonderful.
What a treat.
It is. But it wasn't given to us to do anything but enjoy and relish.
We don't want to dump garbage on it and
No.
poo-poo it.
No, I don't.
No. It's actually one of the ways I've often connected with that is that it's like a barometer. It's not the whole picture. It's like what you're saying. You need the whole thing
You need the whole
to
thing.
come together.
So you have these affirmations. Why don't you give me some and you take some, and we'll read them to each
Oh,
other.
what a great idea.
But so how we're going to read these to each other is with passion and assurance. We don't have to do all of them. We'll do a
Yeah.
couple. All right.
So I just want to give you an insight into what these cards are. They're mini notes that Kaylie has created.
Sorry, that's
and
my dog.
Kaylie has created these amazing affirmations that I'm seeing I'm going to have to mirror image, but I'll get you an image of that later on. But meanwhile, we're going to live affirmations.
Okay, Robin. Here's what I want you to do, girl. Go out and amaze yourself.
Oh, that's great. I love that.
Amaze yourself, Robin.
Kaylie Dugan, you are oh so special.
I am, Robin.
You are. You, Kaylie Dugan.
I am.
Oh, so special.
I am. Robin, here's a great big juicy hug for you, girl.
Ooh, wow! Yay!
An embrace. Always an embrace for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, Kaylie, you light up my life.
Oh!
You really do. You bring joy and fun and ooh. Yay!
Thank you, Robin. Robin, this is so true. I am so grateful that you were in my life.
I'm grateful for you too, Kaylie. I don't think I have that card yet, though. But I do sing your praises to the heavens. I can tell you, and I can tell you, this woman is amazing. I can't say enough about you.
So we're going to do one
So
more.
believe it.
Yeah, we're going to do one more each. Robin, I want you to celebrate your wonderfulness.
Ta-da! That's it. It's laughing. It's great. Oh.
Here's Robin.
Yeah.
So one more for me, honey.
One more for you. And that was perfect because that's exactly my last card. But you know what? You are the apple of my eye.
Oh, thank you, Robin.
And I think you're the apple of a whole lot of people's eyes.
Thank you.
And we're glad to be able to connect with you and find out a little bit more about who it is that you are and what you do in the world. Thank you.
So Robin, why don't we tell each other what this felt like?
This was great.
Doesn't it feel good?
I've never really done interviews like this before. And it's certainly, this is vibrant and alive, and those affirmations are real and living.
Mm-hmm.
They're not simply something setting me up to separate from, oh yeah, I'll fake it until I make it.
No.
That's not it.
These are inherently true about every human being you meet, whether they know it about themselves or not. So to be able to tell people these things, to look them in the eye and tell them with complete sincerity, is an opening, it's a connection, and the world so needs this.
Chance to really hold for them the truth and remind them of what's going on.
Absolutely. But you see how they're not religious.
Nope.
They are not solely spiritual, they are not solely human. They're spiritual and human connected and valuing both. The world
That's
needs
what
more
it
of
is.
the world needs more of this.
In the way that you and I have worked with some other folks, Maria Nemeth is who comes to mind, with the red lens and the green lens.
Correct.
This is really affirming and choosing to see the good.
Absolutely. So you know how Maria always starts out, this person is a hero?
Mm-hmm.
This is just different, kind of goofier ways of saying that they're a hero. The apple of my eye
No
is...
less.
Yes, it's no less, but it's just a whole bunch of different ways. Because we kind of support each other. And when I speak those words to you and see the reaction on your face, I love hearing you say it about me, but it's just as cool for me to say it about you.
And to see the response.
To see the response.
The light come
They
on.
go,
It's
oh
like,
man, it's so good.
yeah. That's awesome. That really is. Thank
I
you.
think so. You're
Thank
welcome.
you for shining your light
You're welcome.
and bringing this practical application to the world.
Yes.
Thank you for bringing it to the individuals where it's more accessible to people
Yes.
who've been hungry and thirsty for this.
I think there's a lot of people hungry and thirsty for this.
So I know you've got Life Clicking coming up this coming Saturday.
I do.
And you're full.
I
and
do.
I'm
So what it
so
is...
grateful you're going to let me in.
So what it is, basically, we're going to repeat it. It's 3 hours on a Saturday, and then there's a Saturday off for people to have a chance to integrate the material.
Mhm.
Then there's a Saturday on for 3 hours, a Saturday off, and a Saturday on.
To bring it all together.
To bring it all together. So there's a total of 3 Saturdays, but it's spread over a 5-week period.
And as you develop this, I bet you're going to have some skills and develop some folks that are going to have some ongoing support down
Yes,
the road, too.
absolutely. absolutely. With not only with me, but with each other. And then our next
So you build buddies into this, and
buddies are definitely part of it.
It's definitely an important piece. Okay.
Checking in with a buddy, you don't have to, but it's encouraged that you check in with your buddy every day, and you say something you want to celebrate, something and something that you want to accomplish. And the conversation is, you know, that telephone call can take a minute and a half if you want it to. But just every morning setting the stage. This is what I'm celebrating. This is what I want to accomplish.
So it's a commitment to yourself.
Exactly.
Accountability.
Exactly.
And it's supporting somebody else.
And you know what?
Becoming all they want to be.
And if you commit to doing something on a day and it turns out you don't do it, that's okay. You just recommit.
We don't get to get out the nine.
No, I'm sorry.
What is it that you lash yourself with?
Cat of nine tails.
That's
no,
it.
Sorry, you don't get to do that. You just say, all right, I thought I was going to do this. It turns out I didn't, and I'm going to recommit to doing it a different way or at a different time or recommit to something else.
Cool.
I'm sorry, you don't get to beat
So it's
yourself
pretty
up.
empowering.
You don't get to beat
Yeah, I've
yourself
spent
up.
a lot of energy on that one, and you know what? I'm done doing it that way.
Does it feel good? No.
It doesn't feel good. It certainly doesn't get results that I want.
Does it bring you joy?
Oh, no.
Unless
That's a great way to check
unless
it
you
out.
unless it brings you joy, we're not doing it.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
let me tell you one more thing what we're going to do. Once we do these classes, we're going to start then bringing it to the internet so
Okay.
that we can have virtual classes.
Yay!
That's where we're going.
That's what I've been doing here with video and connecting with my community in a broader sense.
That's where
as
we're
a
going.
global community.
Yeah, that's
So
where
I'm
we're going.
excited about that.
I just want to test it 2 or 3 times with live people to make sure that the workbook is just exactly the way I want it.
I'm live, not virtual, I promise you. You might have a ringer in the class, though. We might have to record it.
Well, we might. Who knows?
You never know.
We never know.
I've been experimenting with this and getting comfortable in front of the camera.
We never know.
So,
Robin, thank you so much for
great.
doing this. It was a
Thank
pleasure.
you. I have to say I was nervous about doing interviews because I've never really done an interviewing experience. But you've been an absolute pleasure to do this with, and your 40 years of interviewing experience, which I don't believe, I think it's really been more 20, but still,
No,
your
it's 40.
expertise and mastery comes through.
Thank you, honey.
made this very easy.
Thanks. Can I give you a hug, Robin?
Yes, please. I'll come to you. It's one of my favorite things.
Thanks, honey.
Thank you, Kaylie. Bye.
Bye.